Today is part 2 of our tribute to Junkyard singer David Roach. Our previous episode, we were joined by Chris Gates and Patrick Muzingo. Today, we are joined by Junkyard guitarist Tim Mosher and bassist Todd Muscat. The guys were kind enough to join us for part 2 of our tribute and celebration of David Roach. We got to ask them about, memories and times they shared together and songwriting, and we didn't want it to be all sad and gloomy, so there's a lot of laughter and a lot of humor in here as well. And David was just that kind of guy. We all know him for his sense of humor, sarcastic as it may be. He definitely had a sense of humor. So we invited Tim and Todd, and they graciously accepted to share some thoughts with us today, and I'm glad they did.
Yeah, to just have everybody in the room with you, one more time to kind of just sort of not have a send off at all, but to just celebrate, the whole thing, and have these little, powwows with the guys that were with him all the time. I feel like, we're not doing this podcast for us anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You see what I think that it's, and I'm, me, I'm too romantic, for my own good, by way of, I think that this is a little bit bigger than just, Tweedledee and Tweedledum and, Wayne and Garth and Beavis and Butthead and whatever. I think that it's kind of garnering something a little bit bigger this time.
Yeah. Well,
if that makes any sense, and if that makes any sense to him, I mean, am I touching anybody out there? Does anyone out there listening to this episode understand what I'm saying? I think that I'm right.
Here's what I appreciate about the podcast and our friendship with the guys in Junkyard. David was a very beloved character, and we were able to get some of his bandmates on this show to share moments and memories that only they would have.
Right.
And we had 4 of the guys on the show. So I'm grateful to each and every one of them for taking the time to be on the show and giving us sort of that glimpse behind the scenes that only they have. And, we saw them recently here in Austin. The guys flew out for David's memorial service. It was a beautiful service. It was at a creek where he used to play as a child here in South Austin. Family members spoke. You spoke. Chris Gates spoke. It was a beautiful gathering of people. And, as much as you think David from all the times that you and I and even his bandmates, as they will tell you today, all the time that you spend with him and what you think you get together with his family and the people that he grew up with as kids, and all of a sudden you start learning other things that you didn't know about. So it was a really beautiful gathering in Austin on that level, because I felt like I knew David pretty well, but I got a whole new, perception of him by hearing from his brother and his sister and his bandmates and that sort of thing. And that's what we were trying to do with this podcast in these 2 episodes, was sort of extend that for the rest of the people who couldn't be there in Austin, just to kind of get a sense of the celebration and the memorial that we all had for David here in Austin.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a closure thing at all. It's not, because that's a personal thing. That's a personal thing for anyone and everyone who had any kind of love for David, or a love that you have, or respect that you have for anyone. That closure is on you. It's a personal thing. I believe that. The great thing about David is that on one hand you could say, wow, he's like an onion. There's all these layers, but you know what? That's not necessarily true. It's because it literally is what you see is what you get. And these stories confirm that. His lyrics confirm that. He's not making up stories. As Todd said just a second ago, and you'll see in this episode, he lived it. It was all lived. All the stories that you know of Junkyard told by David are true.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what people love about Junkyard is just the realness of it all. And
what you see is
what you see is what you get. Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's kind of this. Don't think of this as cheesy when I say he was a simple man.
True. Yeah. So we do appreciate the guys, and we appreciate all the family members that we met during the memorial service, and we appreciate all the outpouring of love from around the world for our friend, our bandmate, and a guy that we hold near and dear to our hearts. It really made an impression, and he will not be forgotten. So we're happy to have with us today Tim Mosher and Todd Muscat from Junkyard on the Talk Louder podcast.